Welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling. In this video, we have some major news. We have an update on the Charlotte Flair situation. Sonya Deville mad enough to want to fight Charlotte. A lot more details are now coming out about this backstage interaction. Also, on top of that, we are going to discuss WWE's plans to counter program AEW All Out 2022. That is a massive story that's not being talked about. We got to talk about that. Also, Keith Lee, some Keith Lee news. Everybody wants to criticize that he has become Bearcat Keith Lee, but he revealed some very interesting details in an interview with Ryan Satin. As always, my name is Ango. This is the channel where I bring you guys my opinions on the latest news and rumors. So as always, if you guys can go ahead and click that subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Now let's talk about Bearcat Keith Lee. At first, it was something I didn't really understand. And yeah, it seemed like it was something that Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard came up with, but it is actually true. Now, essentially what's happened is that Bearcat Keith Lee was on the podcast with Ryan Satin for Fox. And basically, Keith Lee pretty much revealed that he is actually really happy that Vince McMahon is hands-on with this. He appreciates that Vince McMahon is hands-on, largely due to the fact that, well, he didn't really have a character in NXT, and now he's somewhat becoming a character, and he needed guidance. And he thinks, he thinks very highly of Vince McMahon. And it kind of got me thinking, because at first I didn't necessarily understand why WWE would even do this whatsoever. But, amidst all the criticism that's happened thus far with Keith Lee, WWE is a very different company from AEW or Impact. And I think that is why WWE is going back to the formula that they know works for them in terms of TV presentation. And we're so quick to criticize Vince McMahon and say, oh, this guy's leaving, they're unhappy, they're not happy with what they're being dealt. But with Keith Lee, it sounds like it's the absolute opposite. And if I'm being honest here, I'm willing to give this a chance. Obviously, when you hear about the origin of this character, you would know that, Keith Lee is paying homage to a legendary wrestler. So at the end of the day, if Keith Lee is happy with it, I think we all need to kind of sit back and see what actually comes of it. Now, if WWE does nothing with Keith Lee and this Bearcat character, well then, yeah, 1000%. I think we all have the right to be disappointed. But when we see a wrestler get immediately repackaged in some capacity, we're so quick to be judgmental towards it. We never let it play out. And I get it. WWE has burned our trust before, but, it seems like WWE is trying to do something different with somebody who really didn't have an identity. And that's the truth with Keith Lee. I don't think he had an identity. Just a good wrestler who can wrestle. And I don't think his mic skills were any great. I don't think he was really selling me on anything other than being a good wrestler. And, hopefully this leads to something bigger and better, because I would like for him to be right. But, there was a lot of talk before about Keith Lee missing time, being unhappy with WWE. And then, we found out it was due to health issues and COVID. So, I'm at the point where I just want to see how this plays out. And then if WWE does burn us yet again, then we can all be critical of it. But for right now, it is what it is. As you guys know, there's been a lot of talk about Charlotte Flair. Now Wade Keller and PW Insider Mike Johnson have both come out with different reports. Very, very similar stuff. Basically, what's happened is that, well, Charlotte, went off the script on Friday, and that obviously led to a lot of arguments backstage. Wade Keller came out with some reports that Sonya Deville was backstage immediately in Gorilla, in front of Vince McMahon, in front of Bruce Prichard, in front of the crew, and basically was incredibly livid, looked like she wanted to actually fight Charlotte Flair. And now, of course, this has become a big topic over the weekend, because Charlotte Flair is either doing this on purpose to eventually get released, or Charlotte Flair is just really losing it. Like, I don't know how to explain this in a way that makes a lot of sense, but WWE is in a very tough position here. If you look at what WWE has done with Charlotte Flair, it's very clear that Charlotte Flair, in my opinion, has some sort of star power in a way I wouldn't necessarily compare it to Roman Reigns, but I feel like WWE does protect her. And there's been reports that came out this past weekend that essentially said, hey, like, Charlotte has basically no longer become friends with a lot of the people she was friends with. She's creating more enemies backstage. She's isolated. She's distant from everybody. And that tells me that WWE has a massive problem here. And the fact that Sonya Deville, you know, was mad enough to want to fight Charlotte, it's crazy because all of these people are friends with Charlotte, or so we thought. So, you know, I see something like this and I don't know what to make of it, but WWE's hands are tied. If they release Charlotte, she goes to AEW. If WWE puts her on TV in these circumstances, well, truth be told, it's not going to get any better. And then also on top of that, Fox reportedly wanted Charlotte on SmackDown, hence the reason why she was even drafted. So, you know, I look at this news and I think WWE is screwed here, but also, what this tells me is that even if Charlotte did get released, or if Charlotte, you know, after I think her contract ends in like 4 years or so, but even when her contract ends, whatever the case may be, is this somebody that Tony Khan would want on your program? Because let's face it, Charlotte's been thrown down the faces of everybody since the minute she became Charlotte Flair. So the fact that WWE has given her so much trust, so much screen time, so many title reigns, you know, and this is the outcome that we're getting, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I do know that I think she would also be a problem in AEW in the long term, and I just don't think it works out. And, you know, WWE is kind of screwed here, whatever way you look at it. Speaking of WWE and AEW, WWE did release the announcement, the press release for the pay-per-views going into 2022. And we know that SummerSlam was moved to July for the first time ever. We also know that during Labor Day weekend, WWE has plans on the 3rd or the 4th. They are going to have a pay-per-view. And, well, as you guys know, Labor Day weekend in Chicago is reserved for AEW All Out. Now, with this news dropping, there's been a lot of rumors about WWE and going to the UK, and we know that SummerSlam will not be in the UK, but instead it's going to be a different pay-per-view, which is rumored to be in September 3rd or September 4th. And the reason why I think WWE presented it that way is because of the time zone difference. Now, if this is entirely accurate, this would mean that WWE will counter-program AEW All Out, but it wouldn't be at the same time as AEW All Out. And I think this could be a really good move or a really terrible move because WWE might be trying to capture some of the attention that AEW is getting. So having a pay-per-view that's out in the UK, obviously it's a big deal. It could be seen as a good business decision for them to have a pay-per-view perhaps before AEW All Out, meaning all of the people who are watching AEW All Out will probably watch this pay-per-view, maybe, and then obviously they can go watch All Out after. But WWE here, I mean, you know, the NXT thing, SmackDown, this is not a true head-to-head competition, but every single time WWE sticks their foot out, it looks like WWE's in a situation where they somehow get embarrassed in some capacity. I'm not saying they're getting obliterated, but I do think in some ways they get embarrassed, and I think that's a real problem here. And I'm hoping WWE doesn't just keep doing this thing where they're trying to counter AEW every single time. I think they need to focus on their product, just as I think AEW should focus on their product. And then once both of the products are really, 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 really good, maybe you can do like a Friday Night SmackDown versus Friday Night Dynamite at 8 p.m. I don't know. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I'm bringing you the updates, news, and rumors right here on DPW. My name is Ango, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.